Can you kind
'Cause
of
I
walk
get
me
that
like specifically with that Trocadero joke, like how it kind of like developed, and then kind of tell me that much?
So that's one where like I had a lot of issues with. So like I ran that one by Chip before, and he kind of gave me that same advice of like, if you're writing a story, like beat it out like, one line, then try writing a punchline. It's like, okay, it's like stuff like I had already known, but it's like stuff that like you sometimes you get away from and you need to hear it again.
Yeah.
And I think it was like one of those things where it's like I knew the beats of the story and I knew the pertinent information, but I also knew the other stuff that made me laugh that wasn't as pertinent, but the laugh wasn't as, like, it didn't deserve to be in there.
Okay.
So it was like a slow process of removing all the things that I liked from the joke and just being more in the moment and like being more focused. Because like doing a lot of jokes with similes where you're like, oh, that's like this and that's like that and like that's like this, you can lose people quick if you have like 100 of them in one story. So it's just like more than in that moment. Then it was like leaning in on the attitude of the joke of like the nervousness. Of like basically like awaiting my execution and finding the different punchlines that way without going too off topic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, well, then can you walk me through how? Like, I love that you said like I'm that chair's Vietnam, or it's like how did you get that? Because that works so perfectly in the structure of the joke. How did you get Vietnam? Like, where did that come from in that joke?
I think that came from like talking it through with Chip.
Okay.
We were talking it through a bunch of different scenarios, and there was a couple ones, and I can't remember if he said it first or I said it first, but we were both just talking about it and then trying to find ways to make it like Vietnam.
Okay.
And then it was like the like hearing the sounds all around you in the darkness. Like, I mean, that's like every war movie, right?
Yeah.
So it was just like just playing up on that a little bit. And it just came from like a situation of like, we like what's happening in that moment. It's like it's dark and we're watching a movie, but they still keep stopping the movie every time somebody falls. So then like, what else is this like? And it was just like going through all the different scenarios. And I'm sorry, I wish I had them all like listed in front of me about like, because I went through like a million different ways to try to say this. But that was the one that just kind of felt like most that rolled off the tongue the easiest, because there was like a million like contrived versions of it. But it was like watering it. I don't say watering it down, but getting it to Vietnam because it's an experience we're all familiar with. And
I like that, and I like.
So it's just like, so I'll transfer it from the little book to like my joke writing book, which where I'll write out the beats, and I'll try to write a punchline for each beat. Then take it to the mic, see how it does, listen for like that, like, at open mics, it's like trying to be familiar enough with those rooms. Like you want to go to different open mics because you're getting different crowds, but you also want to be familiar with the sounds of the room. So, like I know what I'm looking for in terms of like audience reaction. So it's just trying to get each punchline to at least line up with that.
Okay.
And then it's like, I'll do it the same way for about a week, like without even like tweaking it. I'll be thinking of different ideas and writing them down as I go throughout the week. But it's not like New York where you're going up 6-7 times a night. I'm only getting up like, I might get up 6-7 times a week if I'm lucky for mics, because then the weekends, like the paid stuff where you're not supposed to be digging around. So I would then listen to all the tapes from the week, because you're then listening to it instead of saying it on stage. Because you're saying it on stage, but you're in the active voice when that's happening. Like you're in the active brain when that's happening. Listening to it from like a passive setting of you just listening to it with headphones in. Sometimes like just taking a walk or something. It'll set off the part in your brain to like think of a tag. Because how many times have you watched somebody's set and they're saying a joke, and you're like, oh, here's a tag, like,
Yeah.
here's a tag, like,
Yeah.
so it's like you're listening to somebody else. You try to like take yourself out of it and
I see.
your ego and just like listen to it like you're listening to somebody else's set and try to think of a tag.
Okay. And then how do you prepare that joke to get on stage then with? Like, even at an open mic, do you go over it, or is it kind of like just from writing down the bullet points? Like, how do you know how do you know what you're going to say when you're going to say it, like the first time that you may tell a joke?
Once I take it, once I put it in like my book, it'll probably go through like one or two like small revisions sometimes before. I get very like dead set on like this is a bad trait to have, but I get very dead set on like the structure immediately, like as soon as I write something. So sometimes it's a thing where I get hung on that for a few weeks, and I got to learn to like break that up and like switch it all around, because sometimes just moving like that ending to the beginning and like, you know, just switching out a middle piece or just taking out a middle piece makes all the difference in terms of the flow of the joke. So did I
So the jokes that I look at when you send me are just like very just kind of sentences, kind of, you don't write out verbatim what you're going to say. So there is like almost this happy medium of part of it's written and part of it's kind of in the moment, feeling the crowd. Maybe like what you said, those kind of like awkward riffs or, you know, tags that just come out, like those. I think you call them accidental tags. Like, is it half written, half on stage? That's the formula to a Jake Mattera joke?
I would say it would be like 70-30 written.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I usually go on stage with an exact script of exactly what I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
And I've just learned to write conversationally. Like, I'm a terrible writer now because I've forgotten how to write, like, I forgot grammar and like structure of like writing like an essay and all that kind of stuff. Instead, it's just like I write so conversationally.
Yeah.
Like, I work so hard on doing that by writing like a stream of conscious journal. Something like Mitch Hedberg did that I picked up on, and then just journaling all like my journal. I at least try to set that discipline up to like at least once a day of going through like the thoughts as they pop into my head and not letting my hand stop on the paper for at least 15 minutes.
Okay.
So you fill like 3-4 pages up that way in like books, like, you know, I got like one of these right now that I'm working on. And it's it's just filling them up and then going back through that like frenzy of writing and trying to see if there's anything I could pull from that.
Okay.
And I think I shared examples of like random scribbles with like highlighted parts.
Yeah.
I think I did that, and that's kind of like what that is. That's me pulling from that. I think it's just like trying to find the best possible punchline and immediately going there.
Okay.
And then if I can somehow build on that, that's a bonus. But if I'm like, I don't say phoning it in, but if I'm like meandering before I get to the big punch, it's like, know you're dicking around and cut that stuff so you know, get to the funniest thing first and then tag it. Don't like try to be cute before you get there.
Okay.